G'day legends, James Greenshields here from Emergent Leaders Foundation. There's a lot of divisiveness out there in society at the moment if you haven't figured it out. You don't have to be blind Freddy to bloody realise that there's a lot of stuff going on. And yes, narratives in the media will attempt to do it. But it's not just that. It's the fact that human consciousness has risen to a frenetic point where a lot of fear fear accompanied with the confusion and anxiety have risen to certain levels. Just look at the levels of adverse mental conditions at the moment in society. They're at a record high. So society's mindset collectively is at this point where division is rife and it's ready for it, which is actually a beautiful place to be if you realise it and how to understand it. Now, in the ancients, a specific way of thought brought about from or pre-Greeks back to the Egyptians was called Hermeticism. And there are 7 laws of Hermeticism, one of which is the law of polarity, which states many things, including every truth has a half-truth and every half-truth has a truth, and that with black there is white. And so it talks about the opposites. When you completely understand that, encompassing another law called the law of vibration, everything's in motion, you start to understand how to transcend the poles. Now, in modern lexicon, there's a technique called neuro-linguistic programming, a modality of healing. Some people might be aware of it, practiced in it, or practitioners of it. And they use a technique called parts integration, which basically corresponds to exactly the same information. How to bring 2 poles together. Now, let me use a great example. The opposite of control is not lack of control, as a lot of people will think. It's actually trust. So if you're on the pendulum of control, it means that if you need more control, it means you don't trust as much. And so you'll swing from one side to the other, to the other, to the other, until you own both poles. And only then, through the process of forgiveness, in other words, the process of forgiveness is truly what it is. It's the integration of parts coming together, the allowance of the 2 parts to come together. But first they have to be able to see each other. First they have to be owned by the person or the party, the group involved. They must fully stand in where they are and own it completely and allow the other person or other side to be seen. And then when forgiveness occurs, we transcend it. With trust and control, we come to this transcendent place of knowing. This place where I no longer need trust. I no longer need control, because what I do is I know in this moment, this is exactly what I must do. Now, the best example I often use, and I just used it in a workshop, is that of Mother Teresa, now Saint Teresa. An incredible woman where one day when the Israelis and the Palestinians were going at it again, down in the Gaza Strip there was this orphanage right outside the front gate, and it was coming under indirect fire. And she went up to the Israeli government and she said, please, on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, give me a ceasefire. Now they did an incredible thing. They gave the finger. They gave the bird to Mother Teresa. Who does that? Anyway, she went to the Palestinians, who were the PLO at the time, and she said, Monday morning at 9 o'clock, please allow me to go in there. Give me a ceasefire. I'll get the children out. Now, these are Palestinian children. And what do? They gave Mother Teresa the bird again. So both sides at a strategic level, national strategic level, gave Mother Teresa the bird. Now, that's just asking for trubs. Anyway, Mother Teresa, she's divine, a divine incarnation. She decides, no. Because of my knowing, or she would call it deep faith, to her God, she knew what she had to do. Monday morning at 9 a.m, she walked straight down the main road to the front entrance of the Gaza Strip, and she walked straight inside. And what did every single person on the front line do? Lay down their weapons. She forced, because of purity of heart and knowing, she forced a ceasefire. It's incredible what she did. She went in, got the orphans, and she picked them up and she took them out. That's going beyond control, going beyond trust. That is transcending to a point of knowing. So let's go to the outside population at the moment. Let's bring it on. Yep. So we've got people who don't believe in, that they believe that we're following the current standard narrative from governments, etc. about what must happen in society for society to get to what they call back to normal. And you've got a lot of other people over this side saying, no, they're bullshit. They don't know what they're talking about. It's all, they can be say conspiracy, whatever, it doesn't matter. So you've got these two sides. Now, so often what actually happens is the two sides are shutting each other down. But the funny thing is that if they actually look deeply inside and completely own their shit, they would realise that, and let them speak. So what does this person want? They want to go back. As a mate said to me on Facebook the other day, I simply want to go back so I can open my store again. So he simply wants that freedom for everything to be safe and for us to go back to living. He wants, in other words, what his true essence is, he wants to live. What does this person over here want? If you allow them, you go down, 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 down. What do they want as well? They want to live as well. In essence, we all want to live. So when we realise that these two poles actually are fighting against each other, but yet when they allow themselves to truly own their shit as to why their motivators are, they'll realise they're coming from the same place. Now, funnily enough, you must completely own your pole. You have to. You must completely see and understand your fanaticism for the pole for you to realise where you are. And then, for the healing to occur, you must, in all respect, reverence and responsibility, allow the other person to be spoken to. So these people over here are saying, you don't know what you're talking about, you're looking at YouTube. Well, actually, I look at YouTube for some incredible resources as well. Won't go there. But the thing is, they're saying, you guys don't know what you're talking about. And these people are saying, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. So they're just dancing backwards and forwards, yeah? So they're as fanatical as each other. The greatest example is the anti-war protester is quite regularly more fanatical than the soldier themselves. Yeah. So when we own both poles inside, we allow ourselves to transcend. But what we must do through the heart space, through engaging this thing, we must forgive. And then and only then can we transcend the emotional shitstorm that's created the division, etc. Only then can we transcend to a point of clarity. And that's called causal issue identification and resolution. You identify that you're not at a causal issue, you're at a symptom when you're just going bitching at each other. Yeah? That means you're in symptoms still. Parts integration and neuro-linguistic programming, or the law of polarity and vibration, stipulate that you allow voice to be spoken. And when you allow that voice to be spoken, then to the essence we can come. And the emotion underneath will allow itself to flow, which will then stop the anchor of holding us in the swing, in the pendulum. The emotion, the suppressed emotion is holding us in that swing. It'll be released for us to transcend to a point of clarity. Only then can we do this. Now, this takes us as leaders to do it. And I'm not talking about politicians. I don't count them as leaders. I count every person who's willing to look inside themselves, own their shit, and then live through example. Live through example by living in the purest form, respect, reverence, and responsibility. Controlling their three things, my thoughts, my words, my deeds, in the purest form. Realizing that other people are different to me, and that's awesome, because that's called humanity, and that's like epic. So I'm going to respect you for being an awesome dude in your own skin. And in that process, funnily enough, I'm going to attract people who respect me as well. Now, I choose to live the way I live. I'm not going to talk about the way I choose to live, because that's my choice. If you want to know that, meet me in the street. Meet me at my home. People know how I live that know me. Yeah, and I do not apologize for that anymore. But I will act with respect, reverence, and responsibility, that I don't push my stuff onto another person. And when I'm facilitating, I have to be really damn clean on that, because I have to make sure, hey, this is knowledge, yeah? What you take from this is, your bag. This is my opinion. They're two massively different things, and as a facilitator, I cannot cross that without notification and owning this, hey, this is my opinion. Because otherwise I pollute what I'm facilitating, and it doesn't come pure of heart. So every day I've got to do that. I've got to own my shit. I've got to go through respect, responsibility, and reverence, and acknowledge people will do their own thing. Trust that's been worth it. Loving where we're at the moment. Loving the people standing up in their own heart space, Remember, when you do that, when you do stand in your essence, remember respect, responsibility, and reverence to everyone else and every other sentient being around. Yeah, and then everything will take care of its natural self. Love you long time. Bye.